Hello students, I am Dr. Mahima Sharma and today's topic is limiting factor, the chapter we study in environment biology. So first of all, we must know that what are the limiting factors. As we all know that we live in the ecosystems and the ecosystem is composed of abiotic and biotic factors. These abiotic and biotic factors act as limiting factor because they restrict the growth, number or reproduction of organisms and in any kind of ecosystem and act as limiting factors. Any abiotic or biotic factor that restrict the number or growth of any organism are known as limiting factors, and these are the critical resources whose supply determines the population size of any given species in a given ecosystem. So if we talk about the limiting factors, we can say as all the living organisms need essential materials for growth, these chemical elements are called essential elements, and some of them are used in large quantities and some in few quantity. Large quantity nutrients are known as macronutrients, whereas small quantity needed nutrients are known as micronutrients. These are also the tracer elements. So if the amount of any element increase or decrease their limit of tolerance, it is called the limiting factor. A factor which slow down potential of organism is also called limiting factor. Now we come to the types of limiting factors. There are two kinds of limiting factors we study. One are abiotic factors and other one are biotic factors. In abiotic factors, we study light, which is of sunlight. The second one is of temperature. The third is atmospheric pressure. Fourth, which is humidity. Fifth, wind. Sixth, salinity. Seventh, hydrogen ion concentration or pH. And there are a lot of these factors present in the environment. So first, we will study the light. Light. The main source of energy on earth is sun, and it is first of all utilized or used by green plants to synthesize their own food by the mechanism which is known as photosynthesis, and this mechanism is also seen in photosynthetic bacteria. Now these green plants are utilized by animals. The impact of light by its intensity, quality and duration give rise to many effects on plants and animals. Like in plants, all the photosynthesis is responsible on the sunlight. So the intensity, duration and quality of light impacts the photosynthesis in plants, whereas in animals it affects reproduction, migration and hibernation. There are few processes like migration and hibernation. Hibernation, the protection from direct sunlight, and migration to get some sunlight or to get rid of sunlight is seen in the ecosystems. Like many of the birds and animals migrate from high temperature to low temperature areas, low sunlight areas. The intensity and penetration are measured by different kind of instruments. Intensity is measured by photolight meter, where penetration in water is measured by CT disc in water. Now we study temperature. Temperature, it affects the biochemical processes which varies according to the season, altitude, latitude, and example is desert. Deserts are of two types. One are hot desert and one are cold desert. The cold desert possesses the low temperature and with high temperature give rise to hot deserts. The different kind of desert we see. So they show the variation of temperature. And this temperature also affect the distribution of animals, like their habitats, and also they help in them these animals to get adapted to their habitat, and they show adaptations. Now the next abiotic factor is atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure. It also varies in different altitudes. It affects the amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide. As we see in different altitude, the variation of atmospheric pressure. Like when we move towards the mountains, the atmospheric pressure decreases by 1/3 from the sea level, which is generally seen. And due to the low pressure area, the oxygen and carbon dioxide concentration also show variation. Now, the next abiotic factor is humidity, which also shows variation. It also affects the rate of evaporation from the surface of organism, like transpiration and sweating, and its measurement is done by hygrometer. Now the next abiotic factor is the wind, which increases the water loss rate. Along with it, by the increase of wind, the water loss rate also increases. It is important in the formation of any kind of habitat. Example is like desert. In desert, heavy winds give rise to the sand dunes, whereas in ocean and lakes, it give rise to or produce waves and tides. And it also help in plants seed germination, and the measurement of wind is done by anemometer. Now the salinity or the salt concentration. We found various kind of salt concentration in various kind of habitats. Like in marine, high salt concentration is seen. In estuarine habitat, various salt concentration are seen. In fresh water, generally the salt concentration is found neutral. Adaptations are also found in these animals which they survive in these habitats where salt concentration is high. So now the next one is pH, the hydrogen ion concentration. Hydrogen ion concentration or the pH. The pH scale measures acidity or alkalinity. On 7, the pH is found neutral, where is no acidity or alkalinity is found, whereas below 7, 0 to 7, it is found acidity, and above 7, it shows alkalinity. The influence of this pH shows in the distribution of organisms, and adaptation is also found according to the acidity or alkalinity in various environments. Now, the next is the biotic factor. The different kind of biotic factors are seen. Biotic means the living organism which have life. These are included in the biotic factors. They include the producers, consumers, and decomposers. They are herbivorous and carnivorous, scavengers, and they form the food chain and food web finally, and basic trophic level in any ecosystem. So what we see the interaction between organisms which act as an limiting factor. Like example will be predation, competition, and parasitism. If we see the example, predation, prey and predator, their both population density is responsible and act as a limiting factor. Like that, competition also acts as a limiting factor. And parasitism, the parasitism may include diseases and various kinds of relationships which impact the interaction and interact in the ecosystem and in various kinds of habitat and act as a limiting factor. Now the second one is density dependent factors, where density is dependent, the factors density dependent factors, predation and diseases. Like here, prey and predator, both density will be involved and affect the population. Like that, diseases are spread by the organism. Their density, the organism, the causing organism, and the population both are affected. So these are the density dependent factors. Whereas density independent factors, which are third, they are environmental stress And these are the events like earthquakes, tsunamis, tornadoes, volcanoes, eruptions, and climatic changes like flood. Now we will study the laws we study to explain the limiting factors. But before this, we will study this diagram, this pyramid, which is showing on the top is the keystone species. Keystone species is found on the top, and the sunlight, which is shown by the one number, it is in the bottom and showing the bottom up limit, acting as a bottom up limiting factor, whereas keystone species is showing the top down, the keystone species, the top down limiting factor that impact the whole ecosystem structure. And now the predation, the second one is showing the predation. Predation is a top down limiting factor. It is coming from top and controlling on the down factors, down trophic levels. Like that, the energy is coming from which is the third, the sunlight. It is coming from sun and it is taken by the producer, which is the first trophic level. So it is the bottom up type of limiting factor, and that affect the population of the predators and in turn higher trophic levels. Now the number four, which is showing the space is also a bottom up limiting factor that impact the maximum biomass on ecosystem and can support its area. Now the last one, which is the food supply. The food is supplied to from bottom to up, and it is acting as a limiting factor. Now the next we will study the laws which were explained, or the concepts were given to explain these limiting factors. So 3 laws were given. The first law we study is the law of minimum, which is Liebig's law. The second law is Blackman's law of limiting factor. The third is the law of tolerance, or Shelford law. The law of minimum. The law of minimum was given by Carl Sprengel. Later, it is popularized by Liebig, and it is now known as Liebig's law of minimum. According to this, the growth is regulated by the limiting factors, that is the smallest amount of resources, and not by their abundance. Example, if in a crop we increase the supply of nutrient already present in enough an amount, it does not affect the growth of plant. No further growth is seen, means only the minimum amount of any nutrients is sufficient. But when we provide the nutrient which are in a scarce, limited supply, growth improvement is found, visible. Hence, according to Liebig, limiting factor in minimum affects the growth of plants. So this was the Liebig's law of minimum, and it was further explained by a barrel. This is the barrel. This is also known as the Liebig's barrel. According to a scientist, Dobenek, who explained the Liebig's law, according to him, there is the Liebig's law works as a barrel, which in barrel it is showing a particular capacity, and beside this capacity it cannot sustain water. It can sustain water only according to its capacity, otherwise it will flow down. So the barrel, the capacity to sustain water is limited by the shortest steps, similar to the growth regulation by most of the limiting or nutrients. Means they have compared the limitation of this barrel to the growth regulation by the nutrients, and this is the figure. It is shown in the picture. Now the second law, which is of Blackman law, a few things. But when we provide, the Blackman's law. Now the Blackman's law, Blackman was plant physiologist, and he studied plant photosystem or photosynthesis. And according to him, photosynthesis As we all know that it needs water, sunlight, chloroplast, temperature, carbon dioxide, chlorophyll in a required amount. A particular amount is needed. Any of these factors present in scarcity will affect the photosynthesis rate. As we know that carbon dioxide increase the rate of photosynthesis, and it is actually directly proportional to the rate of photosynthesis. We will study a graph. A graph is given to explain the Blackman's law. This is showing that by the increase of carbon dioxide, the rate of photosynthesis increases, which is showing on y-axis. The carbon dioxide concentration is seen on x-axis. So by the increase carbon dioxide, photosynthesis increase. But after a limit carbon dioxide concentration increase, there is no effect in photosynthesis or rate is seen, and it become constant. Now, if the intensity of light is increased, then the photosynthesis also increased. So, in this condition, the intensity of light has become limiting factor. And again, after reaching a point, photosynthesis does not get affected. When intensity of light have reached to a limit, then photosynthesis becomes constant. So this law explains that there is a law of minimum and maximum. So the limiting factors works according to the minimum or maximum. Beside maximum and minimum, below minimum and above maximum, the factors which are limiting factors does not work. This was the theory given by Blackman. Blackman also postulated and worked with Taylor, and they both have given a concept which was the principle of a steady state and principle of factors interaction. According to this was told that steady state is the state at which the activity becomes constant. Suppose in a pond, carbon dioxide was the major limiting factor, and there was equilibrium with the rate of supply of carbon dioxide coming from the decay of organic matter. So there was a balance in carbon dioxide amount of the pond, and the other factors as light, nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, etc. They were abundant. If suddenly the amount of carbon dioxide increases, the productivity of the plant will also increase. Now the steady state condition was disturbed because all the factors were plenty. Now a steady state condition will only come back if any factor will again become a limiting factor. Then the pond will operate as a law of minimum. And the second principle they added was the factor interaction. Factors interact means in the environment one element has high concentration and other element has low concentration at the rate of utility, and it can be changed. It may be high or low. Instead of minimum element, organism can use the maximum also. So the high amount of one factor modify the limiting effect of other factor. This is the statement given by Taylor and Blackman, and this is also known as modern Liebig law. Now we will study. So what was the Blackman's law says that maximum and minimum are the point at which at reaching on the maximum they show a steady rate. They become the rate of activity or mechanism become constant. Now the next law, which is the law of tolerance. The law of tolerance was given by Shelford. Shelford was a scientist, and he stated that factors present in limits scarcity. Scarcity means the limitation in minimum, but also the excess or abundance means maximum. affect the growth and development and rate of biological process. That is, the maximum and minimum, both limits of factor involved in the biological process. These limits show the zone of tolerance or range between the two limits. Now, we will explain it by a graph. He had given a graph, and this graph is shown as such. In this, you will see there is a two kind of zones. One is one is the zone of tolerance, and other one is one zone is zone of intolerance. According to this graph, the zone of tolerance, what is the zone of tolerance? Zone of tolerance is the zone where organisms grow best in this zone, and its subdivisions are three. One is optimum zone, which is showing by the optimal range, where we will see the highest growth and development, or the maximum growth and development, which is seen in the middle. Whereas this zone also shows this is the range between the two extreme limits, means maximum, critical maximum zone and critical maximum zone within that, and this is the most favorable zone. Clear? Whereas the other zones are critical minimum zones and critical maximum zones. These two zones are, critical minimum zone is the lowest limit of minimum, below which the growth is inhibited, whereas critical maximum zone is that where limit above this zone the organism growth will be inhibited. Now the second zone, which is the zone of intolerance, this is the unfavorable for the growth and development of organism. Limit of tolerance varies from species to species. These organisms survive best who have a wide range of tolerance and broad distribution range. So, what is the conclusion of the Shelford's law of tolerance? Means there is a limit of tolerance, and beside that any organism do not survive, and they survive in their best environment. Only on the optimum they will show the highest development and growth and increase in the population. We can see in this picture range of tolerance, where number of butterflies on the optimum zone range is the highest, where the abundant organism we can see, and below the zone of intolerance and below the zone of physiological stress or minimum zone and maximum zone, minimum zone below minimum zone, and the zone of the critical maximum zone above, they will show zone of intolerance. Now today's topic was limiting factor. Few pictures were taken from Wikipedia. In next video we will study another chapter.